here to talk about what we can expect next from Russia's Army veteran, Lieutenant Colonel Darin Gaub. This peace, there are going to be peace talks later today. I'm just curious, from a military perspective, how you think they might turn out. If I am Vladimir Putin, I want to gain something from this horrible invasion that he has launched. I want territory or something. If I am Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, I want the Russians to give back everything that they have gotten. How do you resolve that stalemate?
Yeah, that's a tough question, John. Thanks for having me on again, by the way. It's pretty critical to both of them to, I think, come to honest terms of where they're at in this conflict right now. Zelensky's probably looking at this from the perspective of, right now, we're really kind of gaining momentum and have a potential to even win and push Russia out. So why would I go to the table and make a lot of concessions? Russia may have some aces to play still that we're not aware of, and only they are actually aware of. We don't know that for sure, but clearly when they get to the table, there is the potential, a range of options for Russia to say, hey, we're willing to settle for this land bridge in Crimea, the Donbas region to the east, and maybe some better relationships with the government in Kyiv. And Kyiv may be saying, you invaded us, and it's time for you to leave. And if you don't give us what we want, we're just going to push you out anyways.
After Russia took over Crimea, the Ukrainians got some help in training from the United States and others. Here's what retired U.S. Army Colonel Liam Collins has to say about how the Ukrainians have developed as a fighting force since 2014. Listen.
Ukraine's military in 2014 was decrepit. It really didn't have a lot of training capability. They weren't effective at the tactical level. They learned that through 8 years of fighting in Donbas in the east, that the speed of warfare in the 21st century is just too fast. You have to empower leaders to make those kind of quick decisions, but it also requires a trained professional military to do that. So, right, if you have a conscript army, which a lot of the Russians are, you're not going to be capable of executing that same kind of discipline initiative at the tactical level.
Do you agree with that assessment? The Russian army is kind of top-heavy and not very nimble.
I do agree with that assessment. I've worked with a lot of different NATO nations, specifically in the Eastern European region, and what they don't lack is motivation. Mostly it's training and logistics, which is what we're providing them. I fought with them in combat, and they definitely have plenty of motivation. And the Russian army is showing what they've shown with as far as a command structure, what they've been like for decades. They're very top-heavy, they're very inflexible, and to a point, predictable. And if we can put the American system in, or I guess you could say the Western command system in, it allows small unit leaders to make decisions closest to what's going on. And that makes for a much more effective and dynamic military as a whole. And overall, as it trickles up, it makes them far more dangerous to the Russian military, specifically in this case.
We know that the president has promised $1 billion worth of military hardware to Ukraine, but they are still begging for Stinger missiles, for anti-aircraft missiles, for javelins, for maybe harpoons. Is there any way of knowing how much we've actually provided and whether they are getting to the front lines where that kind of material is needed?
Well, we know it's getting in because it's getting used. Of course, they've had some of that for a while, too. As far as the specifics of how it's moving and in what quantities, it's better that the majority of us don't know that. As if we know that, then others do as well, and then the Russians can clearly target and interdict that, which is some of what I think they're doing by striking targets in the West, is trying to affect logistics in the West before it can move to the East. But those small weapon systems, easy to train, easy to use, far less expensive, and easy to move. I think that if we keep doing that, they'll continue to be effective.
And the Ukrainians, I mean, they're fighting for their homeland. The Russians are, well, they're not sure what they're fighting for, and you can kind of see that in the way this battle, this war has gone so far.
Yeah, that's true, and that goes back to their command structure, with everything being centralized and very top-heavy in their decisions. Your junior soldiers are just told to move a direction, and they have no idea why. And the difference with the American military is They are told why, and they're expected to use some initiative and discernment in how they achieve what the commanders are telling them what they want them to ultimately do.
Lieutenant Colonel Darin Gaub, who's been involved in the training of the Ukrainians, thanks very much.
Thanks, John.